We're American made. Dance hall, good time, sipping on moonshine, covered band, tearing up CDB. Down home, mama, child, living that good life, backseat grooving. We'll get that ass moving, and blaring country music is the way it ought to be. I said, hey, hey, cheers to another day. Here's to the redneck getting that paycheck, with the neon buzzing in the long neck. There ain't no stopping, we'll take it to the grave. We're American made. I said, hey, hey, cheers to another day. Here's to the redneck getting that paycheck, with the neon buzzing in the long neck. There ain't no stopping, take it to the grave. Nah, there ain't no stopping, take it to the grave. We're American made. American made. Take it on.
All right, hair and makeup. Thank you. We're done. Oh, how you guys doing? Yeah, hair and makeup. All right. Welcome to the show, you guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the thumbs up and the hearts. You guys are absolutely awesome. It is July 19th. Can you believe it? July 19th. The election is coming up. A couple weeks. We got it. So, this show's going to be about a few things tonight. I don't particularly like to talk about things that I need to talk about tonight, but you know what? It needs to be done. Attacks on me, the truth about me, and the truth about the ones who are putting out the lies, right? We all have to stand up for ourselves, right? When someone has to attack another person with lies and half-truths, it shows they're weak and it shows their true character, right? Looking at the comments. Discussion, welcome. You guys are awesome. So, as all of you guys know from 2020, I don't run a dirty race. We don't sling mud, make up lies about other candidates. I'm not afraid of putting out the truth. And I'm not afraid about putting out the truth about me or the misinformation that's being put out by some of my low-life competitors. We're not doing dirty ads on anyone. We're going to go over all of that. But first, I want you all to be reminded about what I stand for. Not like you don't know, right? You've heard some of the stuff we're going to go over tonight before, but it needs repeating. You know, elections, I guess, some people just don't learn, right? There are people, believe it or not, that call themselves Republicans, but recycle the same crap from the 2020 election that was litigated in the public square over and over. But I want you guys to know and be reminded and share with other people what I stand for. I stand for truth, logic, and common sense. God, family, and country. the Constitution, smaller government. We need to build the wall. We need to impeach Biden and Harris. We need to cut government spending. I'm pro-American energy, right? I wonder why our gas prices are so freaking high. Joe Biden cuts off our fuel supply, kills the pipeline, and then sells our fuel, our strategic reserve, which is supposed to be in case of a war or a natural disaster. He sells it to China. We have to have no more forever wars and not have a war without a declaration from Congress. That is constitutional. The executive branch is not given the power to take our nation to war. That's how we end up in 20-year wars, because the executive branch, just like a king, likes war. And so does the military industrial complex and all the politicians that get kickbacks from them. But I believe in the right to life for everyone, including the unborn. We need to protect our dams, clean up Hanford, finish the Columbia Basin project that was promised like 40 or 50 years ago. I'm for protecting small businesses, and that includes ranchers, farmers, orchardists, our timber industry, and especially small business. Because small business has been attacked for the last few years, especially. You know, I ran my own small business for over 20 years. I can't imagine going through the crap that was put on small businesses under Inslee and under Biden. It's absolutely pathetic. Shut down, but big business was left to run. So I also want to get rid of the Department of Education, because, you know, I believe in this thing called the Constitution of the United States of America, right? I've read that from beginning to end, and I have not seen one word about the federal government being in charge of educating our children. It is unconstitutional. And that department is full of unelected bureaucrats who are dictating critical race theory and sex education to the states, or they won't get funding. The Department of Education is unconstitutional. If you read the 10th Amendment, it says that whatever's not in the Constitution for the federal government to do, it is left up to who? The states and the people, right? We need to follow the Constitution, and that is not the only department that is unconstitutional. So we need to get those decisions on educating our children back to the local level, where parents will be in charge of what their children are being taught. Sound good? I thought so. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in this campaign. There is big money coming into the 4th District. I know that a lot of you have seen it because I'm getting messages from people. TV ads, print ads that are being mailed out. There's big money here. Main Street so-called Republicans are spending a lot of money here to support Dan Newhouse. And it's not only Dan Newhouse that's putting out and his supporters putting out negative information. It's also another candidate called Jared Sessler. And my campaign manager, Chris, is going to join me right now, and we're going to have a conversation about all of this campaign-related BS with the proof, not lies, not made-up stuff. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you, Loren. It's been a long time. It's like I feel like it used to be my home, and now I feel like I'm a guest on the show.
It has, yeah. I mean, technology is amazing, especially when an old guy like me learns how to run it, right?
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
So, Loren, I heard a rumor. Let's play I heard a rumor tonight. I heard a rumor that you're a dirty cop. I heard that rumor all the way back in 2019, 2020 timeframe.
Yeah.
And this recycled narrative of Loren's a dirty cop, Loren's a dirty cop, Loren's a dirty cop, blah, blah, blah. And it's always the same thing that they cite. They're like, ooh, they get all excited. Ooh, yeah. We've got evidence. And so then they put for the same two tired cases that have been adjudicated in the court of public opinion. It's been in the media multiple times, from the biggest outlets to small little outlets. You've explained it, but I think for the folks, one more time.
Well,
one
yeah.
more time.
Sometimes people need a reminder, right? Because
yes,
these slimy politicians can be pretty convincing sometimes, right?
Of course
and
they
so
can.
Maybe some people watching haven't heard it. Maybe some of your friends that you know haven't heard it. So sure, one more time. Let's talk about these two lawsuits. There are two lawsuits that are against, both of them are against the City of Republic, and they're against Ferry County Sheriff's Office.
Now, hold on right there. I want to clear up just a point that keeps being made. They keep referring to you as the sheriff of Republic or the sheriff of Ferry County. You were not, in fact, the sheriff of anywhere. You were the chief of police of Republic, Washington. Is that correct?
Yep. And one of these cases, the sexual assault case that I'm named in, I was not the chief of police at that time. The other case with the DUI arrest that I did not make, I was the chief of police, and I was a canine officer as well. So yeah, they refer to me as the sheriff. They refer to me the one in charge of these cases. Both of these cases were not even in my jurisdiction. They were not in the City of Republic. They were not my investigations. I was not the case officer. Both of these, I was called because, Ferry County doesn't have very many deputies. It's a huge county, right? And so when a deputy needed assistance, they would call. And if a city officer was on, whether me or somebody else, we would go assist them. And the same back the other way as well. If the city officer needed another officer, then they would come and help. So as any police officer can tell you, that if you're on a scene, even like a traffic accident, and the only thing you're doing is directing traffic, if there's a lawsuit, every officer that is on scene or has anything to do with it is going to be named in the lawsuit. So I'll get into more detail. You think people want more details?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have no problem putting out the truth. So let's start with the sexual assault case. Okay. If anybody cared about the truth, they would contact Ferry County Sheriff's Office, who kept the records for the City of Republic, and do a public records request for any case that Loren Culp investigated that was dealing with sexual assault or anything. I mean, this lawsuit deals with sexual assault of a minor. So why don't they ask for those records, right? But they don't, because it doesn't fit their narrative. So I was asked, because there was no other deputy on duty, if I would sit in on one interview of the suspect. I went to the house with the deputy because he was alone, and it was up by the Canadian border, way out of Republic. But I had the chief's permission. The chief at the time had his permission to back up Ferry County. So I was sat in on one interview of the suspect and one interview of the alleged victim, and that's it.
And how long, Loren, would you say, how long were those interviews?
Maybe 20 minutes.
20 minutes on both, or 20 minutes each?
On each. Yeah, I would say 20 minutes on each. I had nothing to do with either of those interviews or that case after that. Okay. I had no decision-making authority on that. Like I said, wasn't in my jurisdiction, wasn't my investigation, and it wasn't my case. I wasn't the case officer. So that was my involvement. But like I said, if you're a cop and you're on a traffic accident directing traffic and there's a lawsuit, everybody involved is going to get named in it. And, you know, remember, anybody can write anything in a lawsuit. That doesn't make it true, right?
We're going to go over
And
that later.
yeah, and everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And there's a reason why both of these cases, and I'll talk about the canine case here in a minute, there's a reason why they've been sitting on the shelf in an attorney's office gathering dust for years.
How many years,
4
Loren?
years.
How many years did you say?
I think the sexual assault case happened in maybe 2014, 2013, 2014. And the canine case, which I'll talk about in just a second, probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
And at no point has the attorney of the sexual assault case, at no point have they offered any evidence beyond or submitted any evidence beyond the initial filing of the case. Is that correct?
I've never gone to court on either of these cases, ever.
Okay.
So a lot of times what happens is people bring cases like this against jurisdictions, police departments, sheriff's departments, counties, cities, and just let it sit there and sit there and sit there until the attorneys are like, well, okay, let's settle here. You know, here's 20 grand or whatever.
And then when you ran for governor, the attorney did go to Berry County.
All that stuff up, and we went through this whole thing then. So let me move to the canine, the DUI arrest. So I'm being accused of being a dirty cop. I'm going to clear the air and tell you guys the
violate, quote unquote, the accusation is, Loren, that you violated this lady's constitutional rights,
right,
by having not only being a dirty cop, but having a dirty drug dog that alerts on 100% of the cars, because the dog lays in bed at night and schemes on ways to you know, how can I alert on every car? You know, now obviously I kid, I'm adding that last embellishment.
Yeah.
But that's just how dumb the accusation is.
Yeah. So again, this was not my jurisdiction. It was not my investigation. I was not the case officer. I was on duty at night, and a female deputy for Ferry County pulled over a car about 4 miles outside of Republic on a state highway, and arrested the driver for DUI, and then called and asked if I would bring my canine out because she suspected the woman was under the influence of possibly drugs. So I drove out to the location, and the lady was in handcuffs, under arrest already, and in the back of this deputy's patrol car. So I show up, she's arrested. Right.
Okay.
I had nothing to do with the decision to arrest her. So the deputy asked me if I'd walk my narcotics canine around the car, and I did. And my canine Karma, who is a very good narcotics dog, alerted on the car. I wrote a small paragraph to give to the deputy telling what I just did and what happened. You know, everything's documented in police work. Gave her that paragraph, and she asked if I would stay with the vehicle because it was between a guardrail and the road. Asked if I'd stay with the vehicle until the tow got there. She was going to transport the female to jail for DUI.
Now, why did they impound the car?
It's standard practice to impound cars on a DUI arrest so that the person doesn't get released and hop in the car and take off.
Now, isn't that a Washington state law?
Yeah, they could claim it the next day after, I believe it's after 12, or it's been a while since I've been a cop. I think it's after 12 hours. And after they're released, they can come and claim their car and get it. So I stayed with the car. The tow truck came, put the car on and took it to the sheriff's office. And then I was done. That was it. That's what I did.
That was all.
That was it. I didn't have anything to do with it after that. The deputy wrote a search warrant and searched the car after the judge signed it, and they didn't find any drugs. Well, just because they don't find any drugs doesn't mean that there's not the odor of drugs there, or there's a hidden compartment with drugs in it. I didn't help with the search. I didn't have anything to do with the search warrant. But that's why I'm named in that lawsuit. Yeah, sounds like a dirty cop to me. Bunch of
Unbelievable.
garbage. You know, I would never have been awarded the key to the city if I was a dirty cop. I would have never been awarded the police chief of the decade if I was a dirty cop. Like I said, people can do a FOIA request for the records of cases that I did. I put people in prison for molesting kids. Those were my cases in my jurisdiction, and I had the whole case. People can look for that, but they don't want to because it doesn't fit the narrative, right?
That's exactly right.
Unbelievable.
Now, Loren, you and I have known each other for about 3 years now. We've been working together, and when I saw this piece of mail,
76.
there you go. I like it. When I saw this piece of mail, I found myself a little bit upset that you were holding out on me for all these years, that you didn't tell me that you were in the mob. And so this is a hit. This is awesome. Now, Loren, I want you to know, at Christmas time, I'm going to have this blown up and into a poster size, and it's just so you can hang it on your wall. And I'm going to send this to Martin Scorsese so you can be in the next mob movie. But this is a hit piece that got put out by the mainstream Republicans out of D.C. This is a huge super PAC that supports Liz Cheney, supports Dan Newhouse, supports Jamie Herrera Butler, supports a bunch of other rhinos. And this right here is a hit piece that they mailed out. They paid good money to make you look like a mafia don. And frankly, I'm a little jealous. I always get accused of looking like I'm in the mob or looking like I'm the devil or something like this. I'm a little jealous that they made you look like the mafia don and not me. But it's okay.
I'm going to have to start getting in movies, I think. Hang a cigar out my mouth.
There you go.
Get in some mobster movies. That is crazy.
So the mainstreamers want us to get the facts on self-dealing tax cheat Loren Culp, right?
Yeah.
Federal tax lien, you skip some mortgage payments, and shady self-dealing. So, Mr. Culp, what do you have to say for yourself, Mr. Mafia Don?
Sorry. I'm looking at that picture. It's hard not to laugh. So here's what I was talking about earlier. Half-truths, right? And trying to smear somebody and make them look bad. They had to go back 30-some years to find that, which it happened. I'm not ashamed of having a tax lien. I was 28 years old when I started my first business, working for myself at 28 years old. And a few years
Living the American dream.
What's that?
Living the American dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, paying the taxes that the government requires, both state, local, and federal. And just like a lot of business people, I ended up with a big tax bill one year, and I couldn't pay it. I didn't have the cash to pay it. I got set up on payments, and they put a lien on my property until it was paid off, which it was paid off. So that they would use that's absolutely crazy. It kind of reminds me of the left going after Kavanaugh for stuff in high school that somebody said he did, right? They got to dig deep to find anything. But yeah, I have no problem with that, letting everybody know what the deal is. So a lot of people getting in problems with the IRS or
Absolutely.
the state taxes. You get
happened to me in my early 20s as well.
Yeah. And that just goes to show that the government is taxing people too much. It's regulating people too much. And we need to cut the federal government and the state government down to size to where it fits back in the confines of the Constitution. We didn't have an income tax until 1913, right? Our country survived. We had a military. We had roads, we had infrastructure. We didn't have an income tax. But now they're going to use that as something bad that, oh my gosh, Culp got behind on his taxes and had to make payments. Yeah, Yeah, maybe cut down the size of the federal government.
Right. Well,
But
but regardless,
I paid
regardless, it
that off.
happened, but you paid it,
Yeah,
right? And then that's
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
All
there
right.
was no tax cheating going on. But I really like the Mafia Don look. I
Oh, it's
think,
awesome.
yeah.
It's awesome. Now, I heard a rumor, because
Oh,
these
another
are
one.
all rumors. I heard another rumor that you've been campaigning for 2 years, 2.5 years now. You don't have a job. You have a nice home. You are obviously paying yourself from your campaign. And people are like, you don't have an income. How's he afford all this stuff? Aha. We've caught him. He's robbing from his campaign.
Right.
So what do you? So what is your source of income, Mr. Culp? And after you get done answering that, I'm going to actually step in and explain how payments go in campaigns.
Yeah, and if I was doing anything illegal, does anybody not think that Bob Ferguson, the Attorney General for Washington State, would have a field day putting me in prison?
Oh,
Right?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So people that accuse me of this, have they never heard of people actually, getting into their 60s and retiring,
Right.
right? Having a retirement income?
Right.
And what they may have forgotten is that Barb and I lived in our home in Republic for 15, 16 years. And I built that home myself. I didn't hire with my family. They helped me. I didn't hire someone to build my home. I was a builder for 20 years. We built our home with money that we had from the house that we sold prior to that. I'd had no mortgage on my home. And everybody knows how property prices have increased from the early 2000s until just a year and a half ago, right? They've skyrocketed. So I have a small retirement income. Plus, I have that investment that we sold, and I have that money to live off of as well, investing that as well. So I don't know. People just think that I appeared out of thin air and I haven't done anything financially for the 44 years that Barb and I have been married. That's absolutely laughable. And for
And the
anybody to
FEC,
think that is an idiot.
so the FEC, you have to file. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's all public record. The FEC, you have to file what's called a financial disclosure. Every candidate has to do it.
And the FEC stands for the Federal Election Commission.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
this race is federal.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So at the FEC, everybody from the president on down to the lowest federal race that you can run in, you have to file a financial disclosure. In Washington State, ladies and gentlemen, the PDC also requires financial statements. And I believe that is for most, if not all, races that are run in the state, right? Because they don't want people getting into self-dealing. So here's the thing about campaigns. Loren Culp has absolutely zero control over the money whatsoever. I have absolutely zero control over the money. Neither one of our names are on the bank account. We have an accounting firm that handles all of that. The only thing we do is approve or disapprove payments. And then we tell the accountants what to do. If Loren was embezzling money or being paid from campaign funds, he would have to convince our very reputable treasurer who runs and has been in this business working with the FEC for the better part of 2 decades, would have to convince her to lie to the FEC and help Loren to embezzle the money. It's just stupid. It's stupid on its face.
Yeah, and they would risk federal prison.
Oh, 100%.
To do absolutely ridiculous. So,
and the same is true for the governor's race. We had an accounting firm. No one had control over that money. Now, I had access to pay bills, but I had to get approval from Loren, and I had to get approval from the accounting firm in order to execute any transactions, because that's accountability. I don't personally, my company doesn't want the liability of only being the only person to be able to pay bills, because if I have an action against me, then I own it, right? Like if I screw something up, it's me. But when there's accountability, then you're safe, everything's transparent. So any of this nonsense that you hear about people embezzling money or being paid from his campaign, it's just dumb. It's dumb on its face. And whoever says it and whoever believes it obviously doesn't know anything about campaigns or campaign finance.
And like I said, if I or you or anybody in the campaign was doing anything illegal, Bob Ferguson would have us up on charges so fast it'd make everybody's head spin. So it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life.
So here's the next one. China, as President Trump would say. China. Now, obviously, China, you're on the roll of China's. You're on the Chinese payroll.
Yeah,
you're obviously a plant. I mean, I can see it. I can see it every time. You know, you're either an Italian mafia guy or you're a Chinese spy. But you know, you're
very few people can be both, Chris.
Right. So, but you are an overachiever, sir. You, sir, are an overachiever. So, China. There is one of our opponents, Jared Sessler. I'm just going to call him out. Jared Sessler spreading this lie that is about to get him into some legal trouble. Is spreading this lie that the owner of your home, because you are renting, yes?
Yep. Yeah, like I told the news reporter the other day, you know, when Barb and I sold our place in Republic and we moved to Moses Lake, because I campaigned here a lot. And we wanted to be in the center of the district, so I wasn't gone so much, and we wanted to be closer to family. So I'm a builder, right? I did that for 20 years. I don't buy someone else's house, and I'm not going to start building a house in the middle of a campaign. So we rented, and Jared Sessler is saying that I am renting from the communist Chinese because the owner, apparently they looked it up, has an Asian name.
Right. And so they go through this big thing, Loren, and they actually dox the owner. Doxing is when you put forth personal information on somebody, name, address, contact information. They dox the owner, put all of this information out. They accuse the owners of being communists, of working for the CCP, that they're giving Loren money every month. They're providing his house payment, because obviously he doesn't have any income, because, you know, Loren's a bum. And how can he live in this nice house? So obviously they're providing it for him. So they put forth all of this dumb information with absolutely zero evidence whatsoever of Loren being connected to these owners. So what we did, ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you. And so we said we're going to provide evidence. Here it is. This is a letter, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, let me cover that real quick, Chris. So when I heard that this information was being put out by Sessler, I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? I contacted the realty company, the property management company that I called when I was looking for a place to rent here in Moses Lake. I called this company and asked them for listings, and I looked on their website, saw rentals available, and I called and told them that I'd like to look at the one that I'm living in now. And I don't know who owns this. I never talked to who owns this. I dealt with this property management company. So I called them when I heard this BS from Sessler being put out and asked them if they would write a letter with the dealings that they've had with me. And this is what it is. I can't see it, Chris. It's too small. Can you want to read it?
I'm going to read it. And this is July 14th, 2022. To whom it may concern, regarding the tenancy of Loren Culp, my company was hired to find a tenant for a rental house. I met with Loren and many other prospective tenants for the property. Loren was selected, paid his deposit and rent, and moved in. The owner of this property was never discussed with Loren, as the owner does not want to be involved with the tenants. This is the reason that owners hire management companies. Every month, Loren pays rent out of his personal account. The remaining funds are then transferred to the owner. Our company is audited by the state and keeps detailed records of every financial transaction that we process. Sincerely, Sarah Ziegler, property manager.
Amazing, isn't it?
So that's about it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, folks. I mean, but the Chinese are not involved in this. And I will say, I have had contact with representatives of the owner, and I know that Mr. Sessler is going to be served with legal paperwork in the coming weeks for slandering the owner of this property, who is extremely wealthy and owns many, many properties all across Washington state.
As an investor.
And
They slandered him all over the place, name and everything. So that's what happens when you lie. So
that's
couldn't happen
exactly
to a
what
better
happens when you
person.
lie. So, Mr. Culp, we're going to transition a little bit into Mr. Sessler. So he has gone around the state slandering you, slandering me, slandering different people. And, you know, we kept quiet about it. There's some things. He filed a restraining order against me, a BS restraining order. We're going to put the video of the encounter out tonight. He lied to everybody in the beginning, said he had video evidence. My attorney, who's a top 100 defense attorney in the country, my attorney tried to get that video. Magically, all of a sudden, it doesn't exist, but we do have video.
It's amazing. You know, he filed an emergency restraining order against you.
Right.
And so you've had to travel from your home in Las Vegas to the Tri-Cities multiple times to attend court. And the last time you were here, it was delayed because the judge said that she had previous dealings with Mr. Sessler and she didn't want to hear the case. So you traveled all the way up here, hotel, gas, airlines, and they put it off for another week. And when is that next hearing on this? It's going to be thrown out of court.
This Friday.
Okay.
This Friday. So I fly in Thursday night. I drive to Tri-Cities. I get this thing done. I get back on a plane and I fly back to Vegas. And then the next day I fly to DC. And this has been something that is just absolutely ridiculous. But first, let's go over, you know, there's so much about this guy that's fake. You know, Mr. Sessler claims that he claims he's got a degree. He claims he's got a degree. Right here, he claims that he has a degree from Kennedy Western University, 1996. And he tells people that he's an engineer. So I did a little bit of digging on, you know, Kennedy Western. And this is what I found. In 2000, and he's going to say, by the way, that this is all lies, but I'm going to prove to you that this is not a lie. This is the actual documentation, ladies and gentlemen. This right here is the actual documentation from a Senate hearing on diploma mills and bogus degrees. You see this? Bogus degrees and unmet expectations are taxpayer dollars subsidizing diploma mills. Down here on the page 31 of this document, and all of these documents we're going to put out, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be put out. They're going to be out there as evidence. We don't have anything to hide. And if Mr. Sessler wants to defend it, he can defend it. But he's lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. Down here on this paragraph here, it says the second panel will focus on Kennedy Western University, an unaccredited school with academic requirements that fail to meet the standards of legitimate institutions. The committee became interested in Kennedy Western because its catalog boasted that a number of federal agencies had paid for their employees' education at the school. Now, you could go through and read this. I'm not going to read it to you because you'll all fall asleep. But the gist of all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that Mr. Sessler is not an engineer. He does not have an engineering degree. He may have paid some money, and the diploma mill sent him this diploma in the mail. Now, he claims that he did this bachelor's degree when he had a 5% chance to live and stage 4 cancer. Now, I've been around a lot of cancer patients. I've had family members die of cancer, and they were in no shape to get an engineering degree with 5% chance to live. So this guy, he pays for this degree. He even poses with a picture on his Facebook with it. But what he doesn't count on you doing is actually reading about it. So a simple Google search will bring you to if you Google Kennedy Western University, it'll take you to Warren National University. Warren National University, previously known as Kennedy Western University, was a post-secondary distance learning unaccredited private university that offered undergraduate and graduate degrees in the United States from 1984 to 2009. It has been described by federal investigators and news sources as a diploma mill, a designation that it has disputed. Its administrative offices were located in Agora Hills, California. The school was shut down in about 2007, 2008 timeframe. I think they finally wrapped everything up around 2009. But that's just a basic Google search, ladies and gentlemen. That's the reality. The reality is the guy embellishes the truth. He does not have a bachelor's degree in engineering. He is not an engineer. So let's just cut the crap. And Jared, if you're going to lie to the people about your education, what else are you going to lie about? We've already proven multiple times already tonight that you can't tell the truth about Mr. Culp. You can't tell the truth about someone that owns his property. And we're going to see in a minute that you can't tell the truth about me. And when you went on Dan Ball the other day and claimed to be the Trump endorsed candidate, you went on live television claiming to be the Trump endorsed candidate and didn't correct Dan Ball. And you put up a fake poll to make everybody believe. And you make these phone calls telling people these lies. It's done. That's the only reason we're doing this show, is because you are not good for conservatism. You are not good for Republican politics. You are not good for Washington State. And we are going to make sure that you never get to Congress and that you never have the opportunity to run again, because you saw a fraud. And everything that I have said on this show and on previous shows, I have evidence to back up. And I will countersue you for any slander that you bring against me, that you bring against my client, or that you bring against anybody else associated with this campaign. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm dead serious about this. Let's get into this stupid restraining order that he decided he was going to file against me. So back in, I need to set the stage. Back in March, we had a Lincoln Day dinner that we were involved in up in Okanagan County. And at that event, Loren could not make it because he had a previous engagement that he was going to be at. And so we sent up one of our volunteers, Miss Courtney Nelson, who's a fantastic individual there in Grant County. And Miss Courtney went up there, and at that event, she was harassed by Jared Sessler. And I'm going to get into that. And I have evidence that this actually happened because I have a sworn legal statement under penalty of perjury that this actually happened. And I'm going to read to you her statement. So that evening, I was called and told about it. Miss Courtney informed several people in the chain of command, to include myself, that this happened. Now, I have a fiduciary responsibility to my clients and to my team. Everyone from Mr. Culp on down in this organization, I have a moral responsibility and a legal obligation to protect them and to keep them safe and to not put them into harm's way knowingly. So I told Miss Courtney that the next time I was around Jared, that I was going to approach him and tell him that that was inappropriate, that please don't approach any of my or talk to any of my volunteers. It's just not something that can happen again. Now, Mr. Jared decided to get on Twitter the other day and put out his version. He had a question. He said, well, you know, this was obviously a setup because they got film footage of it. Why didn't he come to me before the event? Well, Jared, I'm going to answer your question. I didn't come to you before the event because I didn't want to have you have an excuse that I was there trying to mess with you so that you wouldn't perform well. I approached Mr. Jared after he came off the platform. I was calm, I was collected, and I was professional. I came to him and I told him what I was told. And from that point, it basically blew up. He got very aggressive. And I'm going to read all the statements, ladies and gentlemen. You are all going to have all of the legal statements, all of the legal things. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you his statement about what happened. He filed this with the court. This is his restraining order. It says, respondent aggressively approached me with clear anger as I was walking off the stage after speaking. He approached me with strong rage in his face and body language. He got so close to me that his whiskers and breath were on me. This sounds like a third grader wrote this. He accused me falsely and was goating. It's Jared, the word is goading with a D, not goating. It's not goating. This is goating. That's goating. Okay. I was not goading or goating you. Either one, it didn't happen. To be aggressive, goating me to be aggressive in response to him. He said something like a teen would say, like, let's do this right here, or something like that. Even with a room full of people, he was physically aggressive to the point where I was unable to determine if he may become openly physically violent at any moment. I do not want to be in any sort of position with him again. He violated my constitutional rights as they are understood through the social compact. I mean, whatever that means. Let's see. I'm going to show you. There you go. I think this is his initial. So this is what I was reading from. This right here. Okay. And we're going to put this out. This is public record. Okay. This is what he filed. He cannot claim that I am lying. This is exactly what he wrote. Right there is the word goating, not goading. It's goading, Jared, not goating. Okay. So then here is what Miss Courtney said. Here's her statement. We're going to read this to you. This is a legal document. This is the facts. I, Courtney Nelson, am competent to testify to the matters contained herein and do so of my own personal knowledge. I'm a volunteer for the political campaign of Loren Culp for Congress. I was volunteering at a campaign event in Omak, Washington on the evening of March 26, 2022. I was at a booth at the event prior to the Lincoln Day dinner when Jared Sessler approached me. I did not know Mr. Sessler prior to that evening. I know Mr. Sessler now from campaign events and from his campaign posters. I know that Mr. Sessler is running for Congress and is an opponent of Mr. Culp. Mr. Sessler approached me at my station, and as he approached me, I noticed that he had a handgun in the front of his waistband of his trousers. I could clearly see the handle of the handgun protruding above his belt line. Mr. Sessler walked up to me and appeared arrogant, and although I do not recall the exact words he used, Mr. Sessler told me something to the effect that Mr. Culp is tearing this party apart and that I should not be working for Mr. Culp. The whole exchange was very disturbing to me, and I felt intimidated by Mr. Sessler's words and conduct. It appeared to me that Mr. Sessler was intent on establishing his superiority over me. As a woman, that made me feel he was trying to force me to abandon my convictions and be submissive to a man whom I don't even know. I did not confront him about this because I considered this to be extremely unprofessional, and he was armed with a firearm. However, I did tell Mr. Christopher Gergen about the exchange and that I felt it was highly inappropriate and that if it happened again, I would not volunteer at any more events. I know that Mr. Gergen is the campaign manager for Mr. Culp and that his office organizes volunteers and events on behalf of Mr. Culp. I hope that he could get the word to the Sessler campaign and stop that conduct from happening. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is admissible evidence into court that has been already filed with the Benton County Superior Court. That is public record. Okay. Now, he claims that I was super violent, super aggressive. So I've got multiple, just for time's sake, I only picked a couple of these. So Sheriff Bob Songer was there. 51-year law enforcement officer, 51 years. 51 years. He's testifying on my behalf. Here is Mr. Sheriff Bob Songer. Here's his statement. I, Robert Songer, am competent to testify in the matters contained herein and do so of my own personal knowledge. I am the duly elected sheriff of Klickitat County. I have approximately 51 years of experience in law enforcement. On May 7th, 2022, I attended a campaign event in Yakima, Washington, hosted by the VFW. That event was for the candidate for the 4th Congressional District to speak to the public about their petitions on the issues. I attended that event with my wife and a friend. After the speakers had concluded their remarks, people were milling around and talking. There were several people in attendance, and I thought it was a pretty good crowd for a political event at that time of year. I was seated in a group with several others when I heard loud voices coming from approximately 30 feet away. I looked up and saw Jared Sessler and Christopher Gergen engaged in a rather loud conversation. Based on my years of experience in law enforcement, it appeared to me that Mr. Sessler was upset and was becoming aggressive towards Mr. Gergen. Although I did not see anyone push or strike anyone else, I was concerned that Mr. Sessler was becoming so upset that the situation might escalate into some sort of physical confrontation. Based on my training and years of experience in law enforcement, I got up and made my way toward the two men in order to keep the situation from escalating any further. It was clear to me as I made my way toward the two men that Mr. Sessler was being very aggressive, and I became even more concerned that he was going to take a swing at Mr. Gergen if someone did not intervene. Mr. Gergen appeared to me to be upset but in control and did not appear to me to be physically aggressive toward Mr. Sessler. As I approached the two men, I observed another candidate, Mr. Garcia, step between them and speak to Mr. Sessler. I could not hear what he said, but it appeared that he was trying to calm Mr. Sessler down. I also observed some other people whom I did not know, but who appeared to me to be a part of Mr. Sessler's campaign team trying to calm Mr. Sessler down and move him away from Mr. Gergen. They escorted Mr. Sessler back toward the table where his campaign had set up. That seemed to take care of the immediate problem. I do not know what precipitated the incident, and I do not know exactly what was said. However, it was clear to me that Mr. Sessler was being aggressive toward Mr. Gergen to the point that Mr. Sessler needed to be restrained. Mr. Gergen appeared to me to be upset, but doing nothing more than standing his ground. I hereby swear or affirm under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington State that the foregoing is true and correct. I don't know what to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. 51-year law enforcement officer, elected sheriff, that's what he saw. Now I could go on and on. I could do this all day. I've got multiple statements. I could even give you my statement. But this is what I'm going to do. So as this was going on, Mr. Culp heard what was going on. He nudged one of our campaign staff and said, "Get your phone out and record this." It was not a setup. I had no intention of setting Jared up. I just wanted to tell Jared not to harass my people. That's it. And Jared, from me to you, had you just taken it and just said, "You know what, why don't we go over here and have a conversation? I think I see this different." This thing could have totally been avoided, but you wanted to be a big man. So now we're going to see the video on live, stream live, of the last 12 seconds of our exchange. And this is also submitted evidence and has been sworn to as true and correct and unaltered under penalty of perjury. Here it is.
Or a family member of a combat veteran, you're eligible to be a member here at this post. Like a lot of things, people are not being involved. Everybody's on Facebook, sitting at home watching TikTok.
There you go. Here, let's see it again.
Or a family member of a combat veteran, you're eligible to be a member here at this post. Like a lot of things, people are not being involved. Everybody's on Facebook, sitting at home watching TikTok.
That's his whole narrative. You're a liar. You're a liar. That's all he says. That's what he's going to say about this video. He's a liar. He's a liar. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, share this video out. Show everybody exactly what happened. I'm going to put a link in this video on YouTube. I've got to get our Google Drive set up. I'm going to get a link. I'm going to put all this out there. Anybody can see it. It's all public. I've already submitted it to the courts. I want everybody to be able to see it. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to hide. But I'm going to tell you, if you come up and you try to harass some of my staff, I'm going to talk to you about it. Doesn't mean I want to fight you. Doesn't mean I want to get any sort of altercation. It just means that you need to be respectful. I have never gotten into anybody else's face about anything. You can talk to any of the other candidates in this race. I've had zero problem with any of them. In fact, I have been highly complimentary of a couple of our opponents and on how they've run their race and conducted themselves. But this guy is a liar and a fraud. We have already proven that with facts tonight. That is not hearsay, ladies and gentlemen. That is not hearsay. It's just the reality of it. And, you know, I hope that this information gets out. I hope this information gets out. I hope you share this. This is on YouTube. I want you to grab the video. I want you to put it on social media. I want you to email it to your friends, text it to your friends, show people exactly, even if you just want to clip out certain parts of it, do it. Because the people need to know the facts that this guy has been astroturfing and he has been lying. He's been lying about his income for his campaign. He says he's raised $400 and some odd $1,000. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, he has raised $106,000 from the field. $106,000. Loren raised $109 the last 3 months. This guy in 18 months has raised $106,000. The rest of it he's put in himself. All the signs, all that stuff is AstroTurf. They just put them up. And his people, I can't prove that it's Sessler's people only, but all I know is that Clippert signs and Culp signs and Corey signs and all the other signs start to come down and Sessler signs go up. I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't know what to tell you about that. I know that one of his campaign workers in Grant County came over and harassed some of our people and we actually filed a police report about it. So listen, don't believe the hype. You know who Mr. Culp is. You've known him for 3 years. He's the same guy that stood up against 1639, stood up for individual freedom and liberty, stood up for your Second Amendment rights, stood up for stood against Jay Inslee, stood against the mask mandate, stood against the vaccine mandates, and is standing against Dan Newhouse, the rhino that voted to impeach Donald Trump, voted for the J6 Commission, voted for $1.9 trillion in new spending, voted for bills that contained red flag laws in them. You know who Loren Culp is. And there's only one decision in this race to make, and that's to vote for Mr. Culp. We love you guys. And one more thing, Jared, I want you to realize this. I am not goating you. I'm just simply telling the truth.
Emotional damage.